I don't know that I've ever heard anyone else ever make the comparison between Mary and Martha and Joseph and Moses. But I did yesterday on the broadcast, and let me explain. First of all, if you read the story of Martha and Mary, you'll find that Mary was a very in tune spiritual woman, and she loved just praise God and just worship Him. But as you know, Martha, she was very, very stern in the aspect that there were things to get done, and she did not understand why Mary was there just worshiping Jesus, and she's in the kitchen doing all the cooking. And if you think about it, Moses was a very spiritual man. I mean, he was the one that sat at the feet of God as God gave him the 10 Commandments. And he was one who had the ability to hear from God in such a very special way and lead the people. But Joshua, he's a warring man. And he's a man who sees to the practical things of life and knows how to lead an army into battle. But he didn't have the ability somehow or another to think that he needed to pray and consult God before he sent those 300 men down to Ai, who ended up being in a rout and running from the enemy. Or in this case, when the men of Gibeah has arrived in his camp in their fake facade. In other words, they said their clothes were worn out from a long journey, and their shoes had worn out on that long journey, and said, "Here, look at our provisions, all this moldy bread and this wine, that these wine bottles were new when we left, but now they're old." And so they were playing this role playing out in the presence of Joshua, and Joshua never took this to the Lord. He never did the spiritual application. He only saw it from the practical, and he made his decisions based upon this thing. And now this is twice that we have recorded that Joshua has done this. Well, like I say, Moses was a man who knew how to get hold of God and consult God about these things. When there would be controversy arise in the camp, Moses would always go to God first. And so this becomes a lesson to us, an example to us, because the truth of the matter is that there are a lot of things that needs to go into the spiritual world. Before we confront it, before we make our decisions, before we do things that's going to affect the lives of a lot of people, it's always a good thing to take it to the Lord and consult Him before you launch out. Well, I believe that as time goes on, Joshua will learn these things. But in his young administration, he's still having to bring himself more toward the Mary application in order to be able to successfully lead the people in a way that God would have him lead the people. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.